Hello and welcome back. I've got your horoscopes for the second half of March 2025. We are smack dab in the middle of two incredibly potent and powerful eclipses. So if you feel like you're kind of circling the drain, if you feel like nothing feels real right now, you're not alone. Welcome to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot. I'm super stoked to get into this for you. I am going to give an overview of the planetary alignments that are happening right now, a general overview for the collective, and then I'm going to get into detailed horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. Timestamps and chapters will be below so that you can move through this content and find what is most nourishing and helpful for you. And if you haven't seen it already, on my channel, I do have horoscopes for the whole year ahead. Those are really in-depth. They've got a lot of really good information. So if you haven't seen yours yet, I'm going to link that right here so that you can go check it out after you watch these ones. So yeah, before I get into the horoscopes, I wanted to apologize to my followers because typically on social media for the last year and a half, I've been posting every single day. I've been doing little shorts, little astrology and tarot updates, and for those of you who have been following me, you might have noticed I kind of dropped off the map about 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted to apologize for that. As an empath, as a psychic, as a clairvoyant, words can't even begin to describe how overwhelmed I feel these days. And when it comes to posting on social media, I ended up experiencing this deep conflict around the nature of my posts and how it felt shallow. It felt like I was not really acknowledging reality by being like, hey, the moon's in Virgo, or hey, Mercury just moved. Like, yes, those things are happening, but what about how I'm just gonna gesture widely at everything that's happening in the world right now, right? And so as someone who maintains a professional social media account, I started to really kind of struggle between, okay, how much do I inform people and how much do I keep things palatable as we're like scrolling through our phones, right? If you're paying attention to what's happening on the World Forum right now, you're either pissed off, terrified, or both. So just want to extend my love, my compassion, my support, and I will start posting smaller videos on social media soon when I find a way to be as authentic as I possibly can with those posts. I found, as someone who posts about tarot and astrology, that sometimes I get a lot of flack, a lot of kickback from people if I touch on things related to politics. And as I am trying to stay impartial, I'm just presenting the facts as we understand them, as we see them. It becomes more and more difficult to not have my personal opinion come through. I am terrified. I'm really angry. And so if you are too, you're not alone. Basically, as an empath and as a psychic, I was trying to think of a good way to explain the energy that we are all feeling right now. And depending on how much you are tuned in, depending on how much you are affected by things that are going on right now, you may or may not be feeling the same things that some of us are really feeling right now. And I was trying to think of an analogy, like from an energetic standpoint. So we are in the middle of two eclipses right now, and the one that happened on March 14th was a full moon in Virgo, full moon lunar eclipse, and it had a very triggering effect. It had an effect of showing us what needs to be healed. But the collective energy that's happening right now, everything that is affecting humanity on the earth right now, I was trying to think of a way to explain it. Like, I feel energy, and I know a lot of you do too, without even being able to like name it or label it. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to be someone who identifies as an empath or a psychic to be feeling these things right now. And it kind of feels like, okay, so if you get on a roller coaster, let's say you're in the lineup for a roller coaster and you're looking at it and you're like, man, this is going to be awesome. You waited in line, you get into the roller coaster and you're starting to go click, click, click up that first hill. You know that anxiety? You know that feeling when you get kind of to the top of the first peak and you go, when you realize it might be like way bigger and way more intense than you thought it was going to be. The other way that I was thinking of describing it is like anyone who is in the very beginning of a psychedelic journey. And let's say you consumed psychedelics of some form, you're about a half an hour in, and the first little wave hits you, and you go, oh, this is going to be like way bigger and way more intense than I thought it was going to be. That's the vibe, like right now, which is why I've had a really hard time posting on social media. Putting out these horoscopes is really important because my mission statement has been and always will be to enlighten, uplift, and empower. And so when I channel messages for clients privately or publicly like this, what I'm trying to do is provide as much information as possible to empower you. When so much happening on the world stage right now is having the effect of having people feel powerless, a lot of people are really drowning in the feeling of overwhelm right now, because what is happening is not just limited to one particular country or geographical area. What's happening right now is genuinely affecting the whole world, and it will continue to. And so what I'm hoping to do with everything that I share, with everything that I provide, is number one, acknowledge where you're at. I'm right there too. Number two, I want to be able to give you information that's going to help you feel like you have a life jacket on, something to help you kind of get your head above water, get a little bit of perspective, and then finally to empower you to make your way through whatever it is that you're experiencing, whether it be a tiny bit of overwhelm or a huge amount of overwhelm. So wherever you are at, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to share this information with you. So let's get in. Okay, so March 14th, full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, showing us what needs to be healed. Ironically, our human experience, any human experience that we have here on this planet, is going to be a combined experience of contrast and clarity. Every single thing that happens in our lives is either going to give us clarity or it is going to create contrast, which through contrast we find clarity. So for example, the first time maybe that you tasted broccoli in your life, contrast, ew, right? And that contrast brought you to clarity. I don't like broccoli. Now I'm just using an example. You might happen to love broccoli, but I hope you understand what it is that I am referring to. Everything in life is either going to meet a need or a desire, or it is going to clarify a need or a desire. Through contrast, we find clarity. The full moon lunar eclipse that happened on March 14th was full of contrast, and any contrast or conflict that you experienced quite possibly could have been in the weeks leading up to that full moon lunar eclipse. And the effect is to bring clarity to our lives. Any full moon happening in Virgo is going to bring a peak of energy that is going to have themes of health. Virgo is very detail oriented. The superpower is noticing all the things, often to a point that it's like too much information. But what happens with a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, like we just had, is that it is going to be unavoidably obvious what is wrong, what is unhealthy, what is unsustainable, what is going against our morals, our ideals. And through that very clear contrast, we get more clear about clarity. We get more clear about what is healthy, what would be aligned with our ideals, our morals, our standards of honor, dignity, and respect, right? And so on or around March 14th, you may have found yourself in some sort of conflict, whether it be a personal one, a professional one, or an inner one. But in that conflict, we find clarity. It definitely kind of reaches a point of, whoa, this can't be ignored anymore. Therefore, the next best step out of this experience is to find a path of action. Now, the path of action that we're going to find, action represented in astrology, is the planet Mars. The planet Mars happens to be associated with the zodiac sign Aries. And wouldn't you know, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries in just a couple weeks on March 29th. So anything that has become overwhelmingly obvious, anything that has become a very clear source of pain, discomfort, or discombobulation, all that contrast is leading us to clarity. And by March 29th, the idea is to embrace this new moon solar eclipse energy coming at the end of March and find a new path of action moving forwards. Now, the theme of a new path of action is going to be exponentially like increased, because it's not just any old new moon solar eclipse in Aries on the 29th. Oh no, there is a lot going on. March 15th, Mercury goes retrograde in Aries. When it does, it joins Venus, who is already retrograde in Aries. Any of the inner planets that are closest to the sun, we call them luminaries, and they have a huge effect on our personal experience here on this planet. For Mars and Venus to both be retrograde at the same time in the same zodiac sign, Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Like I said, it's associated with Mars, and anything happening within the zodiac sign of Aries is going to catalyze action, choices, or change. Aries is the first zodiac sign of the entire year. And because it is a zodiac sign that starts a season, the season of spring in the Northern Hemisphere, it is known as a cardinal sign. A cardinal sign starts things. It wants new beginnings. It wants a fresh start. It wants to have a plan and a path of action. So one of the worst things that any of us could be doing right now is going on autopilot. And it's going to be really, really tempting, especially in times of change, chaos, turbulence, upheaval. It's very tempting to go, la, 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 it's fine. It's totally fine. Like that meme with the dog and the fire everywhere, right? Because the fact of the matter is that our human brains and our hearts cannot handle a certain amount of stress. Every single one of us on the planet has a limit. And when we hit that limit, our brains and our hearts just kind of go, they just kind of flatline. There is no pushing past that. If we push past that, we end up in adrenaline and cortisol overload, leading to a whole host of psychological and physiological side effects. So know your limit. Stay within that limit. But at the same time, it is going to be a fine balance, a fine line between staying informed and staying sane. Stay informed as much as you can. When you hit your limit, tap out, fill your cup, come back to a place of calm and peace. I wanted to share a tip that's been working for me lately. It's the 17-second rule. It only takes 17 seconds to shift your entire vibe, your headspace, whatever's happening for you energetically, 17 seconds. So the next time you notice that you feel like you're drowning, spend 17 seconds just taking some deep breaths. Say, I'm safe. Right here, right now, I'm safe. Right here, right now, I'm safe. Right here, right now, I'm safe. And ground yourself out for 17 seconds. Give yourself a breather, and you'll notice that your heart rate calms down, your headspace calms down, and then from there, you can choose a new thought pattern, a new choice, a new path of action. But just remember that 17-second rule if you start to feel really, really overwhelmed. So as I was saying, the worst thing that any one of us can do right now is go on autopilot and ignore. Because since we have all of these planetary configurations happening now and continuing to happen in the zodiac sign of Aries, that means that personally and collectively, our mission is to take action. Our mission is to speak up. Our mission is to find a new pathway moving forwards and commit ourselves to aligning with our values, with honor, with dignity and respect. And it's very important. This shouldn't even have to be said, but I'm just going to say it. Every single human being on this planet deserves dignity and respect. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what your choices are. It doesn't matter how you identify. Every single human on this planet deserves respect. End of story. That's just to make it clear how I feel. Anyways, Mercury and Venus both being in a retrograde in Aries right now is going to continue until March 27th and March 29th. What's going to happen is, I was kind of describing this to a friend, like square dancing. It's this theme of dancing this way and then dancing this way and then switching and then dancing this way. That's what a whole lot of planets are going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. So March 15th, Mercury went retrograde, joined Venus, retrograde in Aries. So the two of them are kind of hopping along in Aries. Meanwhile, the sun moves into Aries on March 20th. Now, right before the sun moves into Aries on March 20th, on March 19th, the sun is going to join Neptune at the 29th degree of Pisces. So right around March 19th, there's an opportunity to get really, really clear about what our ideals are, what our dreams are, what our hoped for outcome is going to be. But Neptune also has this effect of catalyzing this energetic softness in a way that we might not be willing or capable to really, really fully engulf ourselves in reality. So like I said, know your limits, stay within it. In a lot of ways, fully being present in reality may or may not feel too much for you right now. So respect whatever your healthy boundaries are, but at the same time, we can't just check out. We can't just be like, it's fine, it'll be fine, because it's not going to be if we don't take action. So when the sun joins Aries, it is going to meet up with Mercury and Venus. And so in the very first couple of days of Aries season, March 20th to the 24th, the sun is going to be shining a light on, so really, really illuminating Mercury and Venus. Now, Venus being retrograde in Aries is all about how to be a loving and healthy individual, but at the same time, not be a doormat. And there is going to be a lot of personal and collective themes around how often we set boundaries, how often we vocalize our experience, to speak our truth, to call something out for what it is. And then of course the, general theme of picking our battles. Because if we're fighting every single thing, every single day, we're going to be exhausted. And so picking and choosing our battles wisely is going to be a huge strategy to help any of us survive these challenging, turbulent times. Mercury retrograde in Aries. Mercury in Aries is all about the words and the thoughts we're experiencing being very volatile, being very Mars, like fighting words. And so Mercury retrograde in Aries is rethinking our approach to conflict, rethinking our approach to speaking our truth, fighting for what is right, standing up for what is right, and potentially advocating for other people, or advocating for what is the highest good. So with this little cluster in the beginning of Aries from March 20th to March 24th, it is going to be a very spicy time, for lack of better words, but it's going to be profoundly crystal clear, which is going to be a huge contrast from March 19th. March 18, March 19 is when the sun and Neptune are at the final degrees of Pisces. So things might feel really fuzzy or unclear at that point, but March 20th to 24th is going to be like crystal clear as far as seeing yourself clearly, seeing the effect of your words clearly, seeing the effect of your mental space clearly, and seeing your relationships, personal and professional, very clearly for what they are, for how they affect you, for how they either align or don't align with your ultimate ideals and your ultimate highest good, right? Then what happens March 27th is Venus retrograde is going to go back into Pisces. March 29th, Mercury retrograde also goes into Pisces. So that little window of clarity between March 20th and 24th, it is going to be short-lived. And then between March 27th and March 29th, you might have a tendency to backtrack. Because as we assert our values, as we set a boundary or speak our truth, it is highly likely during this time that you're going to get pushback, you're going to get challenged, you may end up in some sort of conflict or disagreement. And so there may be a tendency for a lot of us to backtrack. Between the 27th and the 29th, you may reconsider where your boundaries are. You may rethink or question, was I right to say this? Was I correct to think this? Was I clear in what I saw, what I observed, what I experienced? And between the 27th and 29th of March, you may choose to self-isolate in order to kind of do that deep inventory and be like, okay, was I overreacting? Was I clear? Was I not reacting big enough? So the 27th to the 29th is going to be fuzzy. It's going to be unclear, and it may be a bit confusing. And then what happens is on March 29th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. And it is the last one on that Aries axis for the next 18 years. So these are themes that are going to kind of reach a peak and beg for our attention. Everything that's happening right now is begging us to pay attention and begging us to take a stand and begging us to speak up and advocate for what we believe in. The challenge right now is that if we do not actively engage in and create the reality that we're living in, somebody else will do it for you. So this is where taking personal responsibility, no matter how big or how small you feel like you may be, taking personal responsibility for the things that we think, the lives that we live, and the reality that we are co-creating with our fellow human beings, taking personal responsibility is the highest choice any of us can make. And the absolute worst thing we can do is tune out, not pay attention, and let somebody else create the reality that we find ourselves imprisoned in. So it is a lot, it's kind of heavy, but this is going to be one of the most intense Aries seasons that we have literally ever had. What happens on March 30th is that Neptune enters Aries. So immediately after this new moon solar eclipse on the 29th, on the 30th, Neptune moves into Aries. Now, in astrology, Neptune represents our ideals, the best possible outcome, personally, globally, professionally, whatever it is. Neptune wants to end up at that ideal outcome so much that if a path does not feel realistic or possible, Neptune will be like, it's fine. And we may check out of reality. When the path does not feel open or achievable, Neptune's influence will often cause us to disassociate or just simply become disillusioned. So Neptune, which represents our ideals and what society considers the ideal, for Neptune to be moving into Aries for the first time in 156 years means that more people are going to idealize Aries energy. It is going to become more acceptable for you to speak your truth. It is going to become encouraged for you to advocate for what is right, to fight for what is right, and to stand up against things like fascism. So, in a lot of cultures, like I was raised American, but I am a dual citizen. I am now a Canadian citizen. I live in Canada. Where I grew up in the United States, it is encouraged to discuss different opinions because in those conversations you learn. You can learn about what other people think. These are very, very enriching experiences to talk about different opinions. But in Canada, it is socially unacceptable and profoundly taboo to talk about politics, to have different opinions to begin with. And within cultures where silence and being quiet about these things is preferred. It is within those cultures that evil and fascism can flourish without being challenged, because nobody wants to talk about it. And I just wanted to throw that out there, because wherever it is that you're catching this video from, you may or may not feel as though the environment you are in is conducive to discussing different opinions. Whether or not it is taboo, you need to speak up. Whether or not people want to hear it, we all need to speak up, because democracy dies in silence and evil flourishes when people look the other way, because it's too uncomfortable to talk about what's happening. So with a little bit of righteous babe fire here, yeah, that's what I've got for you guys. When Neptune moves into Aries, personally and collectively, it is going to become more acceptable, it is going to become more encouraged to stand up for your rights, and fight for honor, integrity, and dignity for every single human being on this planet. So yeah, Mercury is going to be retrograde until the 7th of April. Venus is going to be retrograde until the 12th of April. And when they come out of retrograde, in the first half of April, they will be in Pisces, and they will have to kind of retrace their steps to get through Aries again. So basically, instead of Aries season ending around April 21st, this Aries energy is actually going to continue for quite a while, because then May 24th, Saturn moves into Aries. And yeah, Venus and Mercury will move back into Aries at the end of April as well. So it's a little bit spicy out there. If you're feeling overwhelmed, I just want to send you the biggest freaking hugs. You're definitely not alone. And when I am able to find a good balance between speaking my truth and not scaring anybody off, then I will continue making those little morning videos on my social media accounts. But yeah, I've just been feeling really overwhelmed and having to make some really important choices about my own personal balance between staying informed and staying sane, right? Sending you guys all my love. All right, I am going to jump into the individual horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. We are going to start with Aries, of course. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and I'm just going to get my papers lined up here really quick. Oh, I better set a timer, because sometimes I can go blah, blah, blah and forget about how much time has passed. Okay. All right, so what we're going to be looking at for each 12 zodiac signs is we're going to be looking at what was triggered by that full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. What is it that's happening in your world that really needs to be healed? And with Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, what is it that you're being encouraged to either rethink or redo for your highest good, to help you live your best life? When the sun joins Neptune at the very last degree of Pisces on March 19th, there may be confusion, but there's an opportunity for a breakthrough as well. We're going to look at that. And when the sun and Venus and Mercury hang out together in Aries between the 20th and 24th, that's going to be the crystal clear time. We're going to look at what might come up for you at that point. When Venus and Mercury move back into Pisces, we're going to look at that. And then the new moon solar eclipse on the 29th with Neptune moving into Aries on the 30th is going to be the last little bit of our horoscope. Are you ready? Oh, there's so much going on. Okay. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Aries sun and Aries rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We're going to start by looking at the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. Now, as an Aries sun or Aries rising, the full moon lunar eclipse on March 14th would have activated your 6th house. Now, the 6th house is all about what is it that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and are those daily activities, are those habits and rituals helping you be the healthiest version of yourself, or are you potentially detracting from a healthy balance that you really need right now? So On or around March 14th, there may have been some sort of blowout or blow up in regards to either your health, your day job, or your mental health. And so anything that really kind of, excuse me, anything that really came up for you as far as like, whoa, this is a big deal, on or around March 14th. And if you can really kind of go full stop, hey, I need to heal this, I need to look at this, there is going to be an aspect of needing to let go of something. Because where that full moon lunar eclipse happened, it is aligned with the South Node. The South Node is a point of karmic release. And it may be our autopilot. It's what we know, what we're comfortable with, no matter how healthy it is, we're used to it. And so on or around the 14th, something would have become very clear as far as this is not healthy, this is not sustainable, and whatever it is that was really kind of in your face, it needs to be let go of, or an aspect or a part of it needs to be released. So anything that's getting in the way of you being healthy physically or mentally healthy is going to really need you to give your absolute full attention right now. And it may be hard to give it your attention. Something needs to be released. Now, as you're trying to figure out how to navigate this experience, Mercury is retrograde in your sign, Venus is retrograde in your sign, and there may be this double dose of questioning whether or not what you think, what you say, and you believe is even true. When we come to the table with, hey, I want to talk about this, and we experience pushback or conflict, if we don't feel very strong or certain in what it was that we wanted to say, we may experience that pushback or that conflict and go, oh, am I wrong? Is the other person right? And so in a lot of ways, you may be questioning your integrity, your identity, what it is that you've said, what it is that you want to say, and whether or not the path of speaking your truth is going to blow up your relationships. Now, it's really important to remember, there's a quote from Dr. Seuss: speak your truth, speak your mind, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter won't mind. So whatever it is, like, it's this huge red flag, and it's a lesson that we all need to learn. If speaking your truth ruins a relationship, I'm going to tell you, my friend, that is not a relationship that's in your highest good. Because you are not capable of living your life with your mouth shut. And if your life is requiring that you keep your mouth shut, that is why you're crumbling, because it is absolutely not your cup of tea. You need to be able to speak freely in order to feel as though you are aligned with the most authentic version of yourself. And seeking authenticity in all that you do and all the connections that you have in your life, seeking authenticity is going to be the pathway through which you find your highest path. So like I said, if you're in a lot of situations where you can't be authentic, that's going to be where you go like, whoa, full stop. I don't know if this is sustainable, right? And so it is going to, because everybody's spicy, because the energy right now is really tricky, your path of navigating how to express your truth and how to set a boundary may require a little bit of backstepping from you as far as making your message a little bit more palatable, right? If we really want to connect with someone, we can't like bash them over the head with what we're experiencing. We have to phrase things and flavor things in a way that people want to listen. We have to talk so people want to listen, and we have to listen so people want to talk. It has to be a little bit of a two-way street. But I really want to emphasize, you are not here to be somebody's doormat, and you are not here to fit into somebody else's box. You are here to live loud and proud. So these are going to be tricky decisions. Now, as we kind of begin this week, there is something that's going to be very important to you. It is going to be a truth that needs to be spoken within the context of a personal or professional relationship. And trying to figure out how to navigate this really important thing is going to be forefront in your mind for at least the first couple days of the week. But on or around March 19th, when Venus and, on or around March 19th, when the sun joins Pisces, you may feel confused. You may feel like, oh, maybe I'm being too rude, or maybe I'm wrong. You may question everything on or around the 19th. So I'm going to say on or around the 19th, do not promise anything. Do not sign anything. Do not commit to anything, because my friend, you are not going to be seeing clearly, and it may not work out for your highest good. So on or around the 19th, do not commit to anything, because things are fuzzy. Now, when we move into March 20th to 24th, then things are going to be crystal clear. You're going to be in your body. You're going to be clear about what you think. You're going to be clear about what's in your heart. And you're going to be really clear about how to approach these things with the most authenticity and honor and dignity and respect that you can possibly muster. So it's going to be really clear as we get to that point. Again, though, there's going to be a fine line between sharing just enough that people understand, but not necessarily the whole bag of resentment. So you are going to have to find a way to make sure that the message you need to convey is short and sweet and to the point. When we add too much information, people just tune out. So as long as you can make your message short and sweet and to the point, you will find a pathway to achieving what it is you need to do, or saying whatever it is you need to say. Now, between March 27th and March 29th, Venus and Mercury move back into Pisces. If you have to say something, I would say do it between the 20th and 24th. You're going to be 1000% clear. Whereas between the 27th and 29th, you're going to get fuzzy again, and things are going to be really hard, just like March 19th. But then the new moon solar eclipse in your zodiac sign on March 29th is going to be this like bing light bulb moment for you, where it becomes profoundly clear what your ideals are and what is the pathway to achieving the highest level of authenticity that you can within the context of the situations you find yourself in. So love yourself, believe yourself, think twice before you speak, and make sure whatever it is you say is short and sweet, but darling, honor your authenticity, okay? Thank you so much for being here. Good luck out there, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. The energy is definitely pretty bonkers right now, but I'm here to help you get through it. Now, on or around March 14th, for a lot of people, it was in between March 10th and 14th, there was this building and building and building and building of friction. And it was all leading up to the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 14th. Now, this energy of things really coming to a head was happening for you in your 5th house. Now, of all parts of the zodiac chart, the 5th house is actually a pretty happy place. It's creativity, it's joy, it's connection, it's romance, it's like feeling like a kid. But what may have happened for you is the realization that something you thought was romantic turned out to be toxic, or you may have had a challenging interaction with your child or children that made you feel like you are on completely different planet than the other person. Basically, the full moon lunar eclipse was triggering for all of us some sort of peak conflict or experience that leads to clarity around how to be healthier, how to live a healthier life, or be healthier of mind, body, and spirit. And so anything that came up for you as far as a sore spot or point of contention on or around the 14th, it is very important that you look at that and you find a way to either heal that connection, walk away from that connection, or find a different way to approach that connection, so that you feel as though your needs are being met just as much as the other person, and vice versa. It's about equality and reciprocity. And sometimes sometimes anything involving the fifth house brings us to a place of realizing, okay, I need to be able to laugh through this, even though it sucks. A little bit of humor, a little bit of laughter helps the vibe chill out so that we can all approach a place of resolution. If everybody's like, there's no resolution possible. So even in a tense moment, that's my that's my trauma response. I laugh in times of chaos, or I'll crack a joke in times of crisis. I'm not diverting away from the things that need to be dealt with, but I am intentionally softening the vibe so that everybody involved can collaborate rather than be in conflict. And that's definitely something coming through for you. Now, one of the biggest things happening with Mercury and Venus retrograde in Aries is that you are kind of rethinking what is important to take a stand against, what is important as far as acknowledging being bothered or having boundaries crossed, versus what can I comfortably let go of and not come away from my ideals or honor or expectations, right? Because right now for all of us, everything feels sticky. Everything feels overwhelming, almost everything. And so a big part of what's happening for your sign, Taurus sun and Taurus rising, is having to pick your battles. And there's this amazing book. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a. And it's an amazing book because it's like, okay, if you're overwhelmed, if you're tapped out, the solution is going to be that you have to give less. Because if you just keep giving everywhere you go, you're not going to have any left for the important things. So sometimes it really is about letting some stuff go and finding a way to laugh through the tension. March 19th, we have a fuzzy day where things are going to feel confusing. You may be more tempted to disassociate than to fully be present in reality. And if that's what's happening for you, one day isn't going to kill you. But what is important is that you don't feel alone with your ideals. So whether it be sharing your experience with a friend, a neighbor, a therapist, it is going to help you sort through your experience if you can talk about it, if you can find a way to name the emotions that you're experiencing, and if maybe you can get a little bit of crowdsourcing or collective feedback around, hey, you're not alone. This is the way that I found a way through it. Maybe that'll help you. Finding a way to soften the prickly edges of your experience right now is pretty much the biggest theme for you. Now, between March 20th and March 24th, we're going to have the spring equinox. The sun moves into Aries. It's going to be like, the lights are on and everything feels like really freaking clear. And so when that happens, it's going to be an amazing opportunity for you to refresh your creativity, your subconscious, your higher conscious, clean out the closets, do a little spring cleaning, literally and figuratively. Because between the 20th and 24th, you're going to be like supercharged and ready to take action. And not before and not after. Between the 27th and 29th of March, Venus and Mercury move back into Pisces. That's going to be another little pocket of time where everything feels fuzzy and confusing and unclear. So if there's anything you have to do that's going to require your full attention, highest level of clarity, and even the extra oomph to get through some things that are potentially challenging, definitely choose between March 20th and March 24th. That's going to be your best pocket of energy. And then when we get to March 29th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. And again, it's going to be like a whoop, lights are on. So it's interesting over the next 2 weeks. It's kind of like lights on, lights off, lights on, lights off, as far as being clear. But as long as we plan accordingly, we'll get through it just fine. So new moon solar eclipse on the 29th is going to invite you to come up with a new path of action that aligns with anything you noticed over the last couple of weeks as far as what you need help with, ways in which it would help to maybe laugh, or ways in which it might help to maybe give less. And basically it's all about supporting your mental health and helping you be at your best so that you can tackle whatever is happening in your life with the most energy and patience that you can possibly muster, right? Yeah. And then Neptune moves into Aries on March 30th, activating your 12th house. And so over the next decade at least, keeping your head clear, making sure that your headspace is a safe space, is going to be begging for your attention at the top of your priority list. So, okay, I hope that helps. That's what I've got for you guys. I hope I hope that empowered you to kind of get through anything that you're experiencing right now. Just remember, this too shall pass. Sending you guys all my love. Have a great couple weeks, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Hello, my friends. Gemini Sun and Gemini Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We're smack dab in the middle of 2 freaking eclipses, and so if you're feeling freaking overwhelmed, you're definitely not alone. Hopefully I'm able to help you get through this. Yeah, with everything together. How do I put this? The energy right now is so intense that it definitely has the effect of causing us to be very scattered. Scattered in our communication, scattered in our approach to challenges, scattered in our actualization of our intentions and our desire to live as authentically as possible. And because your zodiac sign is Gemini, as a Gemini Sun or Gemini Rising, Gemini is represented by the twins. And one of the features of this Gemini energy is to be able to almost like be a shape shifter. But it's kind of this energy of compartmentalizing. So one of the ways that you may experience and process this intense energy that we're experiencing right now is to disassociate, maybe be a little bit disillusioned, and to compartmentalize in a way that allows you to just kind of check out and not really worry about it. Sometimes these are helpful strategies, and sometimes these are not very healthy strategies at all, and only you are going to know the difference. What I was picking up on for your zodiac sign in particular is the risk of being scattered. And this may have come to a head for you just a few days ago, actually, because the full moon lunar eclipse that happened in Virgo on March 14th would have activated your 4th house of either your literal home or your heart space, your emotional stability. So the effect that full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo had on everybody was, through conflict, helping us achieve clarity. And that clarity is around what needs to be healed. So sometimes what happens is we experience things feeling like they're falling apart. And when things fall apart, what we are given is a gift of being able to rebuild. And we're not necessarily happy about the opportunity to rebuild, because in a lot of situations we're like, no, I actually kind of wanted the original thing. I didn't want that to fall apart, right? But arguing with reality is never going to help us. Arguing with reality keeps us stuck in an emotional quagmire, quicksand, where the more we get emotional, the more we struggle against reality. I don't know if you know about quicksand very much, but the more you struggle, the more you sink. And so for me and every other child of the 80s, this was made very clear in the movie The Never-Ending Story. Broke my heart, right? But that's kind of it, the bottomless pit of sadness. And the more we struggle against reality, the more we sink. There may have been a blow up or a blowout within your literal home, or there may have been a blow up or a blowout within your heart. Anything that's falling apart is ultimately going to help you have crystal clear clarity around what would help you feel stable, what would help you feel safe, or what would help you feel loved and nurtured and cared for. So even though things may feel like they are in a state of flux, as much as you can, keep tuning back into your inner compass. Connections with people are either going to feel safe so that you can relax, or they're going to feel really uncomfortable and you're going to feel like you have to have a mask on. As a Gemini sun or a Gemini rising, if you find that your personality starts to split, if you become conscious at any point of having to hide your authentic self to be able to maintain this character that other people either want to see or expect to see, that's a huge red flag. You're going to want to aim towards authenticity as much as possible, which is the opposite of having to hide. And so anything that's happening is ultimately going to help you be more emotionally stable, more safe, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like that right now. So yeah, lots of turbulence, especially in the 4th house of family and home. But as we start this week, and Mercury and Venus are both retrograde in Aries, you're going to have an opportunity to kind of feel insulated, or at least have a little bit of distance from actual changes happening. And for the first part of this week, you're going to have an opportunity to simply process what has already happened and rethink, what is the meaning of what happened? How can you learn from what happened? How can you gain clarity from the conflict or challenges that arose for you over the last week or so? When we move into March 19th, which is kind of towards the end of this week, you may start to feel fuzzy. In the beginning of the week, you're going to be like, whoa, this is clear, this feels raw, this feels fresh. But by the time we get to Friday, you're going to be like, I feel like there's no such thing as time. Am I even real? Is this even real? It's going to be really, really trippy by Friday. But what you're going to be able to see clearly, if you maintain that focus and that authenticity, is by the end of this week, it is going to be pretty clear what path you are on and whether or not other people are going to come with you. And you may feel like, oh, well, I want to be here and I want this person to come with me, but they're resisting. And you can't drag people with you. You can't force people to see the truth. You can't force people to align with your reality. And so you may feel by the end of the week that in order for you to end up where you want to be, you might have to go alone. You might have to keep doing what you're doing and just wait for other people to catch up. But the future is calling for your attention. Reality is calling for your attention. And so it's really important that you don't completely check out right now, no matter how tempting it may be. And that's a pretty universal experience for a lot of us right now. So as you refresh what is most meaningful for you, as you really push forward in the clarity that is becoming much more tangible for you, over the weekend and between March 20th and 24th, it is going to become more and more and more clear where your values are, where your ultimate goals are. And again, a question of whether or not you're going to have to walk that road alone. Now, when we get to March 27th to the 29th, there's going to be another experience of blurred lines. It's going to actually become fuzzy. Somebody might say something that causes you to question everything. Some sort of details or information might come in that cause you to question like literally everything about your path moving forwards. Just remember, any contrast, any conflict that happens is an opportunity to seek and achieve clarity. So around the 27th and 29th, I would encourage you to not make any snap decisions. Don't change your direction. Don't change your pathway. Simply take the new information under advisement and consider it for later. But don't take any action between the 27th and 29th. Now, by the time we get to March 29th, that's when we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. New moon solar eclipse. And that is when your path of action is going to become crystal clear. So if you have to take action, I would definitely encourage you to stick to the 20th to the 24th or wait until the 29th. Because otherwise you're going to be in some sticky territory. And it's also important to ask yourself, as Neptune moves into Aries at the end of the month, ask yourself, in whose name am I setting these goals? Am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I doing this because other people expect me to? Because that is going to provide you with really useful information as well. In whose name are you making these changes? So I hope that helps. That's what I've got for you guys. Good luck out there. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Cancer Sun and Cancer Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. There's a lot going on. Let's start with how the eclipse a couple days ago affected you guys. There's a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 14th, and you may have actually felt the effects for a solid week beforehand. That full moon lunar eclipse had a way of stirring up the dust and bringing either conflict or contrast to the forefronts of our minds. You may have experienced some sort of blow up or blow out within your immediate circle. The eclipse happened in your third house. Now, the third house is like your neighbors, your besties, personal or professional connections within your immediate network and circle. Could be siblings, for example. But the biggest theme here is the things that we talk about and whether or not we feel free to talk about everything, or whether or not we have to filter what we say in order to make it palatable or acceptable with the audience at hand. So there may have been a blow up or a blow out when it comes to how freely you can speak and whether or not you feel supported in your circle. So anything that came up for you as far as a conflict or a contrast or a challenge is ultimately really useful information to help you be healthier or surround yourself with healthy, honorable people. Sometimes we don't even realize what somebody's true thoughts or true feelings are until they open their mouth and we go, whoa, I didn't know that, right? So there may have been an element of surprise. There may have been an element of like letting some sort of secret or cat out of the bag. And so as we start this week, you may be rethinking, what is the future of this connection? Or what is the future of my ability to speak freely? It is kind of sitting in the aftermath right now as we are in between two very important eclipses. And so as this week starts off, you may be thinking a lot about what the future holds and what your part is in co-creating your ideal future with or without certain people in your circle. Now, but right around March 19th, things are going to get really fuzzy. And that's because the sun joins Neptune at the very last degrees of Pisces, which has an ability or an effect of kind of creating fog and confusion. It's going to help us open up our hearts and be a lot more receptive to what other people are feeling. But it's going to blur the lines between this is what I'm feeling, this is what you are feeling, and that boundary in between, right? So on or around March 19th, you may have a hard time seeing opportunities, potential, or the truth clearly. On or around the 19th, you might find it's very, very hard to differentiate between what you believe and know to be true and the new information that's coming into your world and having to try and figure out, is this real? Is this true? So yeah, everything might feel profoundly confusing around the 19th. So definitely don't make any major decisions. Don't sign off on anything. Don't commit to anything on the 19th. Now, as soon as we move into the 20th, the sun moves into Aries and it's going to join Mercury and Venus in Aries. So between the 20th and 24th, it's going to be like crystal clear what you think, what you believe, what you feel, and what the people around you think, believe, and feel. So if you're looking for clarity, you're going to find it between the 20th and the 24th. The clarity you find may be so incredibly clear, it might be shocking, but it's really important to pay attention and have our eyes and our minds wide open. Make sure not to believe everything you see and hear, of course. in this day and age, we can't, right? We have to do a lot of fact checking. So anything that does potentially shock you over the next 2 weeks, make sure to not just grab it and run with it. Fact check, pause and breathe, spend 17 seconds realigning your energy, all of that good stuff. Yeah, between the 20th and the 24th, a plan for the future, or at least some actionable steps moving forwards. Between the 20th and 24th, it's going to be really, really clear and really, really accessible. But then what happens is between the 27th and the 29th, things are going to be really fuzzy, just like the 19th. So again, between the 27th and the 29th, don't make any major commitments, don't make any major decisions, don't sign off on anything, don't purchase anything. Let the information percolate. And then on March 29th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. And again, it's going to be like, boom, lights on. So yeah, over this 2-week period, it's going to feel like lights on, lights off, lights on, lights off. Yeah. And so just kind of consider the source. Anything you hear, consider the source. Anything you think, double check yourself. Don't necessarily believe everything that you think. Don't go running off with everything that you think. Do things slowly, carefully, and with great love. Action is required, but it needs to be action that is as well thought out as possible. And that goes for everyone. So the eclipse is going to happen in your 10th house. There is going to be a new path moving forwards that more clearly aligns with your ideals, your ideal outcome, or at least making sure that you're aligning with your honor and values. So it may feel like it's either a yeah or a no with anything that comes your way. So make sure that anything that you do eventually commit to or align with, make sure it just ticks all the boxes: mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, and spiritually and morally aligned with the highest good, right? Anything less is not going to be ideal. Yeah. So I hope that helped. It's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but we'll definitely get through this. So continue to speak your truth. Continue to be this incredibly heart-centered person and protect your peace at all costs. Sending you guys all my love, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Leo Sun and Leo Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We're in the middle of 2 really potent and powerful eclipses, and it may feel like nothing is real right now. There's a lot going on, and it's really, really wonky, intense energy. Everybody is having to do their best to kind of tread this fine line between tuning into reality, but at the same time not feeling overwhelmed. So respect your limits, obviously, stay within it. As we start this week, we're kind of dealing with the aftermath of the full moon lunar eclipse that we had on March 14th in the sign of Virgo. And for a lot of people, the eclipse actually really started to take effect a solid week prior. The eclipse was the 14th, but by the 7th, a lot of people were already starting to feel like they were in the thick of it. So if that was happening for you as well, you're not alone. The eclipse that happened in Virgo had a funky sideways way of showing us what needs to be healed. And often it's not until something really hits blowout or burnout that we go, oh yeah, maybe that needs to be healed, right? It is what it is. And for you guys, it happened in your 2nd house. Now, there's a couple different ways this could play out. The 2nd house has to do with where our highest values are. And the 2nd house also has to do with our tangible resources, money and assets, or resources in hand. So the blowout that would have happened for you guys on or around March 14th, at least between the 7th and the 14th, would have shown you what needs to be healed as far as aligning with your values and aligning with your manifestations. So for some of you, there may have been some sort of a financial crisis. And I did mention this as a warning in my previous horoscopes. Make sure you like and subscribe so you're kept up to date. I do try and give you guys a solid heads up before these things happen. And that's what I did in my last horoscopes. I was like, whoa, watch your money, don't overspend, have some savings or something. Because between the 7th and the 14th, huge risk of some sort of financial crisis. So like having something that you really value, like your vehicle or whatever, breaking down and having to pay for unexpected repairs or something like that. But there's a metaphorical way that this could have played out as well, and that is having some sort of conflict in your immediate environment with another person, for example, that shows you, okay, your values are here, their values might not be in the same place. And we don't necessarily realize where other people stand when it comes to values or perspectives or political beliefs or any of these things. We don't necessarily know until they say it and they share it. So the second house also has to do with what we vocalize. What comes out of our mouths? What do we articulate when it comes to, I believe this, I value this, right? So some sort of blow up or blow out when it comes to your values, what is communicated, and coming to a clear understanding of where the people in your life stand on these particular themes and topics, right? Whatever happened for you, it was showing you the pathway to healing by showing you what is unhealed and what needs your attention, your tender, loving care. And so as we start this week, we are deeply influenced by Mercury, fresh into retrograde in Aries, and Venus, which is already retrograde in Aries. And these two planets retrograde in Aries are activating your 9th house. The 9th house has to do with, what does the collective believe? How can I seek new information? How can I talk about philosophy, spirituality, beliefs, politics, law, any of these things? How can I gather more information in order to empower myself to live my best life? So the key here for you guys in particular is going to be seek new information, seek new perspectives, even if those perspectives are different from yours, simply because the more information, the more perspectives that you read about or hear about is going to help you better understand not just what's happening out there, but how you feel in here, right? Through contrast, we find clarity. So anything that's happening for you right now is not meant to destabilize you. It is actually meant to empower you, even if it doesn't feel like that in the moment. If you can start looking at it that way, you'll find the pathway through. So as we start this week, it may feel like you are rethinking what you believe. You may be rethinking possibilities, potential. You may be rethinking your education, your philosophical or spiritual beliefs. You might be rethinking like literally everything. And to be able to do so, you might actually need to take some space away from the world or kind of shut out all the extra information so that you can deal with whatever it is that you're processing. March 19th is going to bring a lot of fuzz, a lot of fog, a lot of confusion. So on or around March 19th, don't sign anything, don't commit to anything, just let it blow over. Because between the 20th and 24th, everything is going to be crystal clear. The answers you seek, the clarity you seek, the communications, the connections, the contact that you're trying to initiate, it's all going to be available for you between March 20th and 24th. March 21st, we have the spring equinox, and all these things are happening in your 9th house. 9th house is philosophy and potential, beliefs, education, all of that. And so even if it feels like a lot of things are coming into conflict or you're having to like question and figure things out, the end result is going to be expanding your mind, expanding potential, and expanding the possibilities that you have access to. So don't shy away from new information. Don't shy away from conflicts or contradictory opinions, because even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment, the more you are open to learning, the more your possibilities and potential will expand. And yeah, then between the 27th and the 29th, things are going to get really foggy and really fuzzy again. Again, don't make any major commitments or anything like that, because you're just not going to be able to see very clearly. And then when we get to the 29th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. And on the 30th, Neptune moves into Aries. So it is going to be kind of a roller coaster of 2 weeks. But by the time we wrap up the month, you're going to be so much more clear on what you believe, what you understand, and what you end up striving towards when it comes to your future goals. So that's what I've got for you guys. I really, really hope that it helped. Good luck out there. And I will see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, I keep drawing all over my hands. Oh, man. Whew. Okay. Virgo sun and Virgo rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are currently kind of percolating through the aftermath of an eclipse that happened to happen in your zodiac sign. Woo! When an eclipse happens in our sign, it may feel as though every single aspect of our lives is affected, not just one little pocket here and there. The full moon lunar eclipse that happened in Virgo on March 14th actually had this effect of like drawing in our attention, and there were conflicts, contradictions, and things like that leading up to it, so that you may have actually felt like the bulk of that first eclipse energy was between March 7th and March 14th. So the eclipse actually happened on March 14th, but it was kind of the peak of what was already happening. Now, for it to happen in Virgo, whether you're a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, the implication of an eclipse happening in your sign is that it's going to affect all of you. Specifically, your identity, how you express yourself, and how the world sees you. Whatever role you play out in society, whatever hat you wear out in society, whatever mask you wear out in society would have come into question, because this full moon lunar eclipse would have showed us what needs to be healed. We don't know what needs to be healed until it becomes a problem that we can no longer ignore. And you may have found that between the 7th and the 14th that something became a problem for you and you literally could not ignore it. And this detail-oriented superpower that you have, noticing things, would have made it so that this became, whatever happened for you, became either an obsession or a stress that you simply could not escape until it was dealt with. So whatever it was that you had to deal with on or around the 14th, trust that the experience is to help you get more clear around themes of authenticity. Even though you are perfectly capable of living your entire life in service to others, you are still a human being with your own feelings, with your own thoughts, and with your own needs for nourishment. And there may have something would have come up for you, a blowout or a blow up, in which you had to take a stand. And you had to either speak your truth or set a boundary or simply just be really, really clear in a situation where there was maybe lack of clarity. So anyway, this is now in the rear view mirror, but it is an experience that will be with you for a long time. And how you process it, how you think about it afterwards is going to almost be just as important as how you dealt with it, right? For a time, you might find yourself rethinking it, or, you know, playing it out in your head and going, wow, did I deal with that in a way that was really aligned with how I see myself and how I want the world to see me? Or could I possibly learn from that experience and maybe possibly do things differently next time? Either way, it's going to be on your mind for a while, but it also feels like it was a long time coming. And what's really important as we start this week, Mercury is retrograde in Aries, Venus is retrograde in Aries, you're going to be in a place of deep thought and introspection, specifically in the theme of energetic exchanges. For example, even though your autopilot is to be in service to others, if you do so and you come to the realization that those you are in service to don't align with your ideals, don't align with your honor, your dignity, your respect, maybe you simply feel like they are taking advantage of you, or maybe it could be as profound and intense to feel as though they are directly doing you harm. One of the things you're going to be thinking about as we start this week is the theme of self-preservation and the theme of reciprocity, energetic exchanges. What is the point of being in service if I don't get anything out of it, for example, or if it goes against your morals, for example. So big, deep thoughts. And on the surface, outsiders might not understand how significant this situation or this theme is for you. And for that reason, a lot of the thoughts that you're having and the emotions that you're processing, you're probably doing so in private, unless you have someone trusted that you can talk to. So yeah, deep thoughts as we start this week, but what's happening is that you are being encouraged to let go of certain aspects of how you present yourself, or certain aspects of how you work so hard to get people to see you in a certain way. And you may find that some mask you're wearing is no longer sustainable, or the effort that you're putting in is no longer worth it. And it is this dynamic of you versus the rest of the world. And you are being given an opportunity as we move forwards in the next few weeks to refresh the relationships that you have in your life, personal or professional. You may find that there's common themes popping up in all your relationships. And so, like I said, lots of deep thoughts around energy and around reciprocity. Okay, so March 19th, things are going to be really fuzzy, really unclear, potentially even really confusing. And you may question the boundaries that you've set. You may question the truth that you spoke. On or around March 19th, I would strongly encourage you, do not promise anything, do not commit to anything, do not sign off on anything. And if you can avoid it, don't have any major conversations on or around March 19th, simply because you are not very likely to see yourself or the situation very clearly, and you might end up backstepping something important. You might end up being a doormat when that's not in your highest path. When we move into March 20th to 24th, at that point, whoa, everything is going to be crystal freaking clear. You're going to be ready to take action. You're going to be ready to advocate for yourself or others. And you're going to be crystal clear about which battles are worth fighting versus which ones you're okay to let go of. So between the 20th and 24th, crystal clear. We're also going to have the spring equinox. And when we have the spring equinox, it's going to be an opportunity to refresh your 8th house. It is the 8th house that talks about the reality that we share with other people, the money that we share, the resources that we share, and the karma, the karmic patterns, the energetic exchanges, all the things that live beneath the surface. It's not visible, it's not tangible, you cannot label it or quantify it. These are things that only you can really assign value to. And so one of the biggest things is going to be questioning whether or not other people assign the same value to the things that are really important to you. Then between March 27th and March 29th, everything gets fuzzy and unclear and confusing again. So between the 27th and the 29th, do not commit, do not promise, do not sign anything. It's not going to be in your highest good, not if you can avoid it. And again, between the 27th and the 29th, lines between you and other people within the context of your relationships, personal or professional, the lines are going to be blurred. And it's not going to be easy for you to set boundaries. It's not going to be easy for you to even see where the boundaries should be. So those couple of days are going to be a write-off. Then March 29th, we have the new moon solar eclipse in Aries. And again, that crystal clarity around what action needs to be taken, what lines need to be drawn, and the path for moving forwards. Everything's going to be crystal clear again. The new moon solar eclipse is going to be happening in your 8th house. And like I said, this is energy. And it's going to be really hard to explain in some situations your experience of energy, your feelings around energy, your observations around other people's energy. And so this is where it's going to be a huge exercise for you guys in validating your own emotions, standing strong in your truth, whether or not anybody else sees it or believes it. Believe yourself. That is the most important thing you can do, and take action according to that. Yeah, I hope that helps. That's what I've got for you guys. As Neptune moves into Aries on March 30th, it will be easier for you to actualize your ideals. It's going to be easier for you to read the energy of the room or the world. So trust. Even if it feels like you're stretching out of your comfort zone, trust that these are new skills that you will very soon master. Sending you guys all of my love. I hope that helped, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks in my next video. Take care out there. Bye. Libra sun and Libra rising, welcome to your horoscopes. It's bonkers out there, I'm not gonna lie. Absolutely bonkers. So take care of yourself. Protect your peace as much as you can. And just remember that everybody out there is carrying a really heavy load, whether you see it or not. So act accordingly. We're just on the heels of the first eclipse out of 2. We are smack dab in the middle of 2 eclipses, which can often feel like there's no ground beneath our feet or no such thing as time. So if you feel like you're stuck in dream space right now, I definitely want to let you know that you are not alone. We just had a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, and for you guys, that was your 12th house. A 12th house is, I can feel it, but I can't see it. It's your subconscious, your super conscious. It is your dreams, it's your creativity, but it's also the skeletons in the closet. And the full moon lunar eclipse had a very triggering effect, helping every single one of us see what needs to be healed. You may have had disturbing dreams. You may have had something in your life. Let the cat out of a bag. Like, okay, let's try that again. I don't know what happened. My phone just stopped recording. Libra sun and Libra rising. We were just talking about how the full moon lunar eclipse may have triggered some sort of either a cat being let out of the bag, which is a metaphor for secrets being revealed, or some sort of like aha moment. Because anything that happens in our 12th house, the 12th house is associated with all that is hidden. So whether that be dreams, intuition, skeletons in the closet, whatever the case may be. A full moon is a time of kind of like shining the world's biggest spotlight on something. And a full moon lunar eclipse amplifies that effect even more. A full moon lunar eclipse can not only catalyze clarity around something, but it will also catalyze some sort of a conflict. You may have felt like there was a blow up, blow out, some sort of crisis. It could have been a crisis of faith. It could have been a crisis of conflict with another individual, perhaps even an organization. But the end result, no matter how much of a shakeup it may have been, the end result is to hopefully achieve and continue to work towards clarity, transparency. Anything that was revealed to you is ultimately going to help you, because now you understand more about that person, or now you have more clarity around the situation, possibilities, potential, pathway moving forwards, right? If we do not have all the information, we cannot make an educated decision. And so as much as it may have been shocking or unsettling to receive new information recently, Ultimately, now you are more educated. Ultimately, now you are more informed and therefore more capable of making an informed decision, an educated choice around a pathway moving forwards and action that you would like to take. So it may have felt like a curveball, but it's an opportunity to heal, and it's an opportunity to continue to work towards transparency, but also authenticity. Because as much as you are perfectly capable of playing the social games and engaging in that social dynamic, ultimately you want to seek the truth. Ultimately, you want to know where people stand, what you're dealing with, and how to best equip yourself moving forwards. You don't like being left in the dark. You value communication. So even if it wasn't ideal communication or knowledge that you wanted, it's knowledge that you have now. And so using it to empower yourself is going to be the healthiest path moving forwards. Now, as we start this week, Mercury is retrograde in Aries. Your planetary ruler, Venus, is retrograde in Aries. And as a result, you are going to be kind of treading this fine line between desperately wanting to take action and at the same time not being very clear about what is your path of action. So if you are not clear, wait and gather more information. There is going to be a path of action opening up for you, but over the next 2 weeks, it's going to feel like light on, light off, light on, light off. You're going to be excited, and then you're going to be like, wait a minute. And then you're going to receive more information that helps you be more clear, and then you're going to feel confused. I'll tell you why. The first start of this week is kind of the aftermath of that eclipse that we just had. It's fresh, it's raw, you're still processing. When we hit March 19th, the sun is going to join Neptune at the very last degrees of Pisces, and there's going to be a lot of confusion. So don't commit to anything, don't sign anything, I would hesitate around implementing a new plan of action on or around March 19th, simply because things are going to be fuzzy and confusing and fully discombobulated. But March 20th, the sun moves into Aries. We have the spring equinox, and between the 20th and 24th, there's going to be heaps of clarity. It's going to be easier for you to see. It's going to be easier for you to plan, and there's going to be a little bit of fire in your belly as far as wanting to take action, wanting to get something over with, for example, and push through, get that final bit of information, get that final bit of making a plan sorted out. And a lot of this is going to have to do with either reacting or responding to the closest people in your life. Any one-on-one connections that you have, personal or professional, a neighbor, a lover, a bestie, a coworker, a boss, a business partner. One-on-one connections are going to be the biggest source of either challenges, conflict, or something that needs to be resolved. And one of the things that you might be dealing with is coming to the realization that one of those people that are important in your life revealed something or said something that makes you think, oh my God, can we even move forwards? Can we even, like, whoa, full stop. I didn't realize you felt that way, or I didn't realize you thought that, or so a whole lot of your experience over the next 2 weeks is going to be trying to process either new information or something that you didn't know, and thinking about maybe completely rewriting your plan for the future or rethinking who you are aligned with. It's going to be, it feels like almost like shocking information. The struggle for you is going to be seeing clearly your health, your mental health, what habitual habits or habitual responses that you have, and wanting to kind of plan accordingly, because it's going to be very clear for everyone that the old way of doing things is no longer working. And every single one of us needs to change our approach with honor, dignity, respect, and authenticity in mind. So, yeah, a lot of things are up in the air. Like I said, don't make any major plans or major decisions on March 19th. Things are going to get really clear between the 20th and 24th. Between the 20th and the 24th, if you need to seek clarity with one of those important people in your life, that would be a great time to discuss things, to work towards full transparency, to get it all out on the table so that everybody involved is as informed as possible, as on the same page as possible. And if you find that you're not on the same page, if you find that you are no longer aligned with shared dreams, shared values, goals, whatever the case may be, you may end up having to kind of take a step back and rethink everything. But like I said in the beginning of this video, very, very beginning, the worst thing any of us can do is go, it's fine, because it's not. Even if it wasn't something you wanted to hear, whatever came through is something that you needed to hear. So remember that. When we get to, like I said, the 21st is the spring equinox. Then the 27th to the 29th, things are going to get blurry and confusing again. Between March 27th and March 29th, I would strongly encourage you, no major decisions, no major commitments, don't sign anything, don't promise to anything. And then March 29th, we have new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and that's boom, the lights are on again. Then we have clarity again. Then we have a clear path moving forwards again. And in a lot of ways, it may feel like stretching out of our comfort zone. Neptune moves into Aries for the first time in 156 years on March 30th, which is actually awesome, because what might open up for you at the end of this month is new professional or personal connections. New people coming into your life that really align with your values, that really align with shared goals, shared dreams, and a common vision for the future. So if it becomes clear that people are not aligning with where you want to end up, don't drag a dead weight. Find a new co-pilot or whatever the case may be. And it may feel scary, especially depending on how deeply entangled you are with these people. But if you receive information, even if it wasn't comfortable information, it was something that you needed to hear for your highest good and the highest good of all involved. So good luck out there, you guys. Mwah. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in 2 weeks in my next video. Bye. Scorpio sun and Scorpio rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We're smack dab in the middle of two very potent eclipses. And yeah, we're kind of dealing with the aftermath of the first one right now. We had a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 14th, and it actually had an effect of stirring up the dust for the first 2 weeks of March. We could all kind of feel it coming. Whatever came to a peak or a head for you on or around the 14th, any conflict, any challenges, any blow-ups or blowouts that happened is ultimately useful to help you live your best life as far as having a meaningful role in the world. And even though you are someone who is inherently quite private, at the same time, you are social, you are dynamic, you are extremely creative and thoughtful and passionate about all that you do. And so what's happening for you is that as you are going in the direction of living a life that has meaning, some things may come across your path that make it really clear what choices, what people, what situations no longer align with your highest good. The eclipse happened in your 11th house. The 11th house is not just your little circle, but it's kind of like the bigger circle, the wide world, the greater community. The 11th house is where we seek belonging and where we seek meaning. It is where we share our talents and gifts with the rest of the world. It's where we surpass any situation that's just a paycheck and we move into channeling our divine purpose or making a difference in the world. So if a door closed for you, trust that it is to help you find the open one more easily. And so I just want to, I'm telling this to every zodiac sign. Any conflict that happened was important for us to achieve clarity. Any information that came through, even if we didn't want to hear it, well, we needed to hear it. And like I said, if any doors closed for you, that's all right. Look for the open ones because they're definitely there. Now, as we're kind of coming in this week off the tail end of an eclipse, there's a big energy in the beginning of this week where we're just kind of percolating new information and trying to make sense of where we stand, where the world stands, right? And so starting this week, Mercury is retrograde in Aries, Venus is retrograde in Aries, and one of the ways that you might be coping with this overwhelming energy, especially in the beginning of this week, is to just kind of put your head down, to take care of routines, to really pour yourself into work, into tasks, just getting some stuff done. And it has a very healing, very cathartic effect for you to be able to work through big emotions by keeping your hands busy, keeping your head busy, keeping your body busy. So pour yourself into work this week. It is going to help you rethink whatever came to light, and it's going to help you process whatever emotions you're experiencing right now. Now, March 19th, the sun joins Neptune in the final degrees of Pisces. This is actually going to be the last time that this happens for probably about 150 years. And so on the 19th, you might even want to call in sick that day. You might find that your head is kind of in the clouds. You might have really interesting dreams. You might feel extra psychic or extra tuned in to the force on or around March 19th. It is definitely not a day to make any major commitments. Do not have any important conversations if you can avoid them. Don't sign anything, don't purchase anything, but tune into the astral realm. That's where all the useful stuff is going to be. And then when we get to March 20th, it is the spring equinox. The sun moves into Aries. Between the 20th and the 24th, everything's going to be crystal clear, a path of action, your authentic path moving forwards. All these different things are going to become really, really clear between the 20th and 24th. And again, you may find that your daily routines, your work, and putting energy into healthy habits are going to be the most rewarding at that time. And if you have to have an important conversation, if you have to sign something or commit to something, I would suggest waiting until that little window of time between March 20th and 24th, because you'll be the most clear, you'll be the most present in your body and capable of making any major decisions. And then things get fuzzy again between March 27th and March 29th. So between the 27th and 29th, no major commitments, no major conversations. When we hit the 29th, that is when we have the new moon solar eclipse. The new moon solar eclipse in Aries is going to be activating your 6th house. So again, themes of work might be a big deal for you. Themes of living your best life and making healthy choices, implementing healthy habits, aligning your daily routines so that you are setting yourself up for success. Your mental health is going to be the highest priority that you can no longer ignore, and so is your physical health as well. You may find that you are more able to cope with any overwhelming energy or circumstances by maybe even self-isolating a bit and just pouring yourself into things that need to be done. You may find that the healthy choices that you need to make are healthy choices that you're going to have to make alone. And so you may struggle feeling unsupported or feeling like you're the only one who's going to do what needs to be done. But this is where you need to prioritize your values, your ideals, and do what is right, no matter what anybody else around you is doing. And then March 30th, the planet Neptune moves into Aries for the first time in 156 years. It's a big freaking deal. And when it does, it is going to be so much easier for you to have a clear vision of your ideals and implement that vision on a day-to-day basis. So even if you feel wishy-washy and unsure in the 2 weeks leading up to it, by the end of March, you're going to be like, I know my truth, I know myself, and I know what needs to be done. So love yourself, support yourself. Good luck out there. I really hope that these horoscopes helped, and I will see you in 2 weeks in my next video. Mwah. Bye. Oh, let's have some water. Sagittarius Sun and Sagittarius Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are starting this week off the tail end of a full moon lunar eclipse. Now, any full moon is always a time of peak energy and heightened human experience where people are just extra twitchy and extra like, rawr. That's any full moon. A full moon lunar eclipse, you just turn that up a couple hundred notches, right? And so because the full moon lunar eclipse was happening in your 10th house, you may have felt overwhelmingly focused on your future. The 10th house is those long-term goals that we kind of set our sights on and then we work towards consistently and methodically moving forwards. These can be career goals. It can be thinking about the legacy we want to leave behind. It can be huge goals like buying a house or, any of those things. But the ultimate idea, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just drank a whole bunch of water. The whole idea behind the 10th house is that what we're doing is we're aiming for stability, right? When we get into a career, we're not thinking, oh, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. We're thinking, I'm going to do this potentially for life, right? Buying a house, having, dedicating ourselves towards a family or something like that. These are commitments that we really imagine are going to be forever commitments, right? Well, it's not like anybody wants to work forever, but you know what I mean, right? So these long-term goals that take time, they take commitment, they take investment. These long-term goals can shift if we internally shift, if we end up prioritizing a different energy or experience, if you know what I mean. So some things can alter our course. And what's interesting is that the full moon lunar eclipse that happened on the 14th was activating your 10th house. Now, the eclipse happened in the zodiac sign Virgo. So ultimately the theme is, how can we be healthier of mind, body, and spirit? And the full moon lunar eclipse brought its magic by creating either conflict or contrast in which it became obvious either something is healthy or it's not. So if you are happy and healthy within your long-term career plans, it would have felt like an affirmation of, this is great, this is awesome, I can definitely commit to this long-term, and I can see that this long-term commitment is going to be in my highest good. If you do not feel that way about your long-term goals, then that full moon lunar eclipse would have felt like everything got shaken up. I do not like this path. I do not feel healthy in this career or whatever the case may be, right? But that's the theme. And however you experience that theme, of course, is going to be different for everyone who has, Sagittarius Sun or Sagittarius Rising. So what we need to do collectively is take that information, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, take that information as useful information and, consider, okay, how can I make the most use of this information? It's not always stuff we want to hear, but it's often stuff that we need to hear, right? So you may be rethinking your commitments. You may be rethinking questions like, what am I getting out of this? If I devote all this time to this career or this job, is it paying me enough? And am I having to sacrifice my mental health or my physical health? if you are trading money for time off of your life, it's not worth it, right? And that might be one of the things that's feeling extra heavy for you. But then again, because this is a theme, you may be thinking this is adding to my life instead of detracting from it. So as we start this week on the heels of that eclipse and these big questions about our life path and whether or not that path moving forwards is healthy and sustainable, as we start this week, you're going to be rethinking not just is this healthy and sustainable, but also does this bring me joy? And wanting to cultivate joy, like obviously work isn't necessarily always going to be fun, but in order for us to actually commit to something for years on end, good Lord, there has to be some fun in it, right? No matter how aligned with duty and responsibility we are, all work and no play makes us dull. It makes us empty, and it makes us feel like there's not even any point in living, right? So you may be considering burnout right now. You may be thinking about the level to which you are achieving and experiencing satisfaction in a variety of ways in your life. And I want to validate for you, it is okay to ask these questions. It is good to ask these questions because we really want to make sure that anything it is we're doing in this life, we're not trading our life force for a paycheck. We should, at least on some level, be enjoying ourselves, right? And sometimes it's a matter of working hard at a job that we don't necessarily enjoy because we're going to get enough money out of it that in our free time, we get to do all the things that we enjoy. So whether you're a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius rising, you're going to be thinking a lot about that exchange, that energetic exchange, and thinking about whether or not it all balances out in the end, right? March 19th, things are going to be really foggy and confusing. And so you may feel really overwhelmed by your emotions. You may be thinking a lot about your family of origin and what sort of examples were set for you in your original family home, and whether or not you feel emotionally healthy about the choices that you're making. You know, there might be a lot of pride around, yeah, I'm doing things that nobody else in my family was able to achieve. I'm super proud of myself. Or you might be thinking, wow, the only reason I'm a slave to this job is because I witnessed the people who raised me be slaves to their jobs, and this is the only life that I know. So it's going to be really important to balance your vision for the future with an absolutely clear and honest reality check for yourself, where you stand right now when it comes to your level of satisfaction, your mental health, and your emotional health. So deep thoughts to start the beginning of the week, and it's going to be really hard to see clearly on March 19th. Don't make any major decisions, major commitments. Don't sign anything on March 19th. You may feel really emotionally overwhelmed at that point. But then March 20th is the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. The sun moves into Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, and the sun is going to join up with Mercury and Venus between March 20th and March 24th. So in that little window of time, March 20th to the 24th, you're going to be crystal clear. You're going to be motivated. You're going to be energized. You're going to be passionate and ready to freaking go. So if there's anything really important, really significant that you need to do, see if you can, schedule it for those 4 days-ish, because that's when you're going to feel the most positive, the most enthusiastic, and the most capable. Because the 2 weeks that we have looking ahead for 2 weeks are going to be a roller coaster of clarity and then lack of clarity, of energy and lack of energy. So if you can just time things right, you'll get through this no problem. There's going to be another window of fog and confusion between March 27th and March 30th. No, sorry, March 29th. So between March 27th and March 29th, things are going to be foggy again. It's going to be one of those down slopes where you're not going to feel motivated. You're not going to feel clear. You're not going to feel happy or positive, or you might struggle with it, right? So between the 27th and the 29th, same as the 19th, no major commitments, don't sign anything, don't purchase anything. Then March 29th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and March 30th, Neptune moves into Aries. So that's going to be a lights on moment where it's going to be, you're going to be supercharged with energy. You're going to be really crystal clear about where your ideals are, and hopefully even the pathway or the steps that are going to get you there. So yeah, lots of deep thoughts over the next 2 weeks, but ultimately it's to help you recalibrate your direction, especially when it comes to those long-term plans, and to do a little bit of a really important check-in with yourself as far as what is your ideal and what sort of sacrifices are worth it in the end. So I hope that helped. That's what I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah! Good luck out there, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Capricorn Sun and Capricorn Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We're smack dab in the middle of 2 eclipses. It definitely feels like time isn't real. And for a lot of us, it feels like we're kind of circling the drain. It is a wonky time. So take that into consideration. It's going to be really important that you're not super hard on yourself, because you may not feel very productive. You may not feel very enthusiastic. In fact, you might be really dragging your feet through things right now. The full moon lunar eclipse that we had in Virgo on March 14th actually had this like buildup of energy pretty much since the beginning of March, right? And everyone, as we approached that March 14th, in the days prior, everyone was experiencing some sort of conflict, contrast, contradiction, some sort of a challenge that really kind of brought things into focus as far as what is the big theme that's coming up for me right now, and what is my pathway through. How can I heal this? How can I look at this with clarity? How can I resolve this or commit to doing my best in this situation, right? Now, for you guys, that blow up, that blowout, whatever it was, would have been happening in the realm of your 9th house. Now, the 9th house has to do with possibilities and potential. It is philosophy, it's education, it's belief systems, it's the law, it's spirituality. It's about the shared ideals and collective beliefs and our personal relationship to them. So this blow up or blow out may have brought you clarity. It may have been a light bulb moment as far as, ooh, I have new possibilities. Or it may have caused you to question what sort of possibilities are going to be available and accessible by you in the future. You may have had to rethink your path, your choices, your opportunities based on something in your life, especially in your inner circle, that either changed or became unavailable. And so this new plan, this new way of thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? It's this back and forth, right? It's hard when often blessings come into our lives disguised as a curse. And so one of the things you might be struggling with is, holy crap, this is a very unexpected wild card situation. I don't need more wild cards right now. You know, but it is what it is. And one of the most important things we can do right now is do not argue with reality. Your emotions are valid, and whatever's happening for you right now is bound to have some big emotions attached to it. But when it comes to your emotional experience, make sure you're not wasting energy or time on wishing that reality wasn't what it is. Well, the fact of the matter is, this is how it is. And the more that we can accept that, the more that we can come up with a concrete plan for moving forwards. If we don't like how things are, good. nobody should like how things are right now, right? But anyway, that's besides the point. But arguing with reality isn't going to change it. Developing an action plan for how to change it is going to change it. I hope that makes sense. So as this week starts, you are very likely going to be experiencing some deep, overwhelming emotions. And those emotions may cause you to kind of get stuck in the muck. The more we struggle against quicksand, the more we sink. But if you can, as best you can, channel some peace, channel some love towards yourself, then you'll find the solid ground, and then you can make a plan for moving forwards. You may want to call in sick. You may want to put your phone on do not disturb. You may want to just pour yourself into your work so you don't have to think about anything or talk about anything. And you know what? You do you, my friend. Whatever your healthy path is for moving through some really big emotions and some really challenging new information in your life, you do you. But all I ask is don't check out completely, because every single one of us needs to be behind the driver's wheel of this wild and crazy reality that we find ourselves in, right? So ultimately, you're going to be rethinking your literal home or your emotional stability, or both. And when it comes to your literal home, it is very, very important that you feel emotionally safe. It's a crazy world out there, right? And so at the very least, when we come home, it should be a safe space. It should be a sacred space in which we can shut out the world and let our guard down and relax and recharge. And so these may be big themes coming up for you right now, is how to continue feeling emotionally safe, how to continue having healthy boundaries, and all of that. And who do you share your home with, if anyone? So that's kind of the first week here between the 15th and the 19th. But when we get to March 19th, there is going to be a very foggy, confusing influence. The sun is going to join Neptune at the very last degrees of Pisces. And there's going to be a sense of feeling like reality doesn't make sense. If you can avoid it, don't make any major commitments. Don't sign anything. Don't purchase anything. Don't commit to anything. On or around March 19th, simply because you will not be fully clear. You may not be fully informed. You may be deluded or confused or in a spacey place where you're not really seeing or thinking clearly. And nothing against you. It's just the astrology of that day. And I've been telling every sign this. But the 19th is a sticky, confusing day. Between March 20th and March 24th, it's going to be like lights on, super clear, super energized, super passionate, like, whoa, night and day difference. March 20th, the sun moves into Aries. It is the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. It's going to join Venus and Mercury. And even though they're both retrograde, it's going to add a lot of clarity to all the things that we're thinking that we have to rethink or redo right now. So if you have to make a major decision or anything like that, aim for the 20th to the 24th. Then we have another little pocket of fog and confusion between the 27th and the 29th. Now, the confusion is going to affect communication for you guys, communication and your inner circle, your network of friends, maybe your professional network as well. There's going to be confusion around information, communication, what's being said, what people actually mean, what they're pretending, and seeking clarity, seeking transparency. If you make seeking clarity your highest priority, it's going to work out really, really well for you. Don't take things at face value. Get references, fact check. Like, really, really, really don't take things for granted. Don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything that people say or everything that you see. So in order for you to be emotionally healthy and feel emotionally stable and to feel safe within your family or within your home, seek clarity at every possible opportunity. Even when you don't think you need it, double check. Send that email and be like, hey, so we talked about this. this is what I understand. Did I miss anything? Like, put in triple, quadruple effort towards achieving clarity, and you're going to be really, really glad that you did. Because if you make a quick decision during this time, Mercury retrograde, you may have to redo it. You may have to back out of a commitment. You may have to doubly face some sort of a conflict or seek the truth later if you didn't do it right now. So to avoid future pain, future problem, definitely seek clarity right now. And then we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries on the 29th, and Neptune moves into Aries on the 30th. So by the time we hit the end of the month, again, it's going to be crystal clear. But by the time we hit the end of the month, if you committed to something while things were foggy, it's going to be too late to back out. So over the next 2 weeks, do your research, ask for clarity, don't believe everything you see and hear, and take all the time you need for yourself. If you need to call in sick and make milkshakes and have a blanket fort and watch cartoons, you do you. Don't expect the world out of yourself right now, because it's not going to happen, right? Take things one day at a time, and this too shall pass. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope that that helped. Mwah! And I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Aquarius Sun and Aquarius Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We just had a full moon lunar eclipse a couple days ago on the 14th. We have a new moon solar eclipse on the 29th. And here we are, stuck in the middle with lots of confusion and craziness. And I am here to help. What we had kind of activated and stirred up in a potentially really uncomfortable way with the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo was anything and everything that was going to offer us clarity around how to be the healthiest people that we can be. The full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo had a funky way of showing us what needs to be healed. And for you guys, that was activating your 8th house. The 8th house is spirit. It's karma, it's energy. It is not tangible or quantifiable. And so you may have felt that even in the first half of March, the first 2 weeks of March, it may have, been this indescribable experience of feeling like there's a disturbance in the force, that the energy was off, and you may have been feeling alone in noticing it. You may have felt like Chicken Little, who's like, the sky is falling. Well, what if it is, right? So there's the energy around that full moon lunar eclipse for you guys was a very internal experience of noticing energy, feeling energy, responding and reacting to energy, and then wondering, does anybody else feel that, right? But basically, you know, aside from that, the 8th house also has to do with debt. Now that can be karmic debt, or it can be real life financial debt. And so you may have also come to the realization that the debt that you carry or the money that you're spending, you may have come to the realization that you are living way beyond your means, and that your financial situation is unsustainable and very close to crumbling. It may be for reasons outside of your control. It may be for reasons perfectly within your control. All we can ever do is the best we can with the situation at hand. And so you may be spending the first little bit of this week trying to figure out what is within your control. What can you do about it, either financially or energetically? And sometimes the hardest part is realizing that there's a problem. Once we realize there's a problem, boom, we have a starting point. Let's work on a solution, right? But the confusing part might be realizing that there's a problem. If it's an energetic exchange and you're trying to figure out, okay, the energy that I'm picking up on from this person or from this situation, is it real? Am I imagining things? So you may be seeking clarity. You may be seeking confirmation that whatever it is you're dealing with, financial or energetic, wanting to confirm where you stand, what the situation is, what it entails, and oh my God, how do we fix it? How do we heal this, right? So the power is in your hands, and this week starts off with a very strong energetic focus in your third house. And the third house is, let's talk about this. Let's talk to the friend. Let's talk to the neighbor. Let's talk to the financial advisor. Let's talk to the bestie. So you may be wanting to talk out your experience. You may be wanting to kind of seek information or seek validation or seek help with whatever it is that you're feeling overwhelmed by. Definitely starting this week with a sense that whatever was brought to your attention with that full moon lunar eclipse is an issue that needs your attention. That this is no longer something that can be ignored. It is no longer something that can be swept under the rug. And you may be feeling this really strong imperative to like, oh my God, I have to figure this out. Now, the level to which it is truly urgent, only you know the triage of your life and your situation, right? Make sure to triage, because it might turn into an obsession when other things in your life actually kind of need more attention. Only you know what really needs your attention in any moment, right? So as you're rethinking what to do about this, and you're seeking clarity, you're seeking information, you're trying to make a plan moving forwards, I want you to be aware that on or around March 19th, things are going to be fuzzy. Things are going to be really confusing and really unclear. So as you seek the truth, as you seek solutions, just be aware that March 19th, nothing's going to make sense. And so on or around March 19th, don't make any commitments, don't sign anything, no contracts, no promises, no purchases, because it's, way too foggy to feel solid about that day. Now, March 20th, the sun moves into Aries. And we have the spring equinox. Between the 20th and the 24th, there's going to be crystal clarity. It's going to be really easy for you to see things as they are. And people are going to be much more clear in their communications, almost too clear, like honest to a fault. But if you're seeking the truth, you'll find it. And if you're seeking a path or an action plan moving forwards, you will find it. So March 20th to the 24th is definitely going to be like a magical opportunity to come up with an action plan and to throw yourself into it enthusiastically. But then, of course, because it's a roller coaster 2 weeks, March 27th to the 29th, things are going to get really, really fuzzy again, really foggy, really confusing. Mercury and Venus both move back into Pisces. You'll be less likely to have a truthful conversation. You're going to be less likely to say the thing that really needs to be said. And you're going to be more likely to backtrack on whatever it was that was important to you just a few days prior. So again, between the 27th and 29th, no major decisions, don't sign any contracts, don't make any promises, and don't make any major purchases. If you were absolutely certain about something, and then you get to the 27th and 29th and you are tempted to throw it away or quit, don't. Wait until the 29th. We have the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and the 30th, Neptune moves into Aries. So if you just let that little blurry space move past, by the time we get to the last 2 days of the month, you're going to be crystal clear again. You're going to be extra motivated again. So don't throw away your plans. Don't throw away what's important to you in a moment of confusion, because the clarity will come back. It really does have to do with aligning with your values, fiscal responsibility, being responsible with your money, being aware of how it's being spent, and also making choices around how you spend your money as a reflection of your values. So not supporting any companies run by fascists, for example, making sure to spend your money locally, small businesses, support mom and pop stores, stuff like that. And wanting to maybe consolidate your debt in a way that lightens your load and helps you feel more positive about your path moving forwards. So yeah, I hope that helps. Good luck out there, you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in 2 weeks in my next video. Mwah. Bye. Pisces sun and Pisces rising, welcome to your horoscopes. Holy smokes, these are some challenging times. It's either laugh or cry, right? Some days it's laugh, some days it's cry. So we just had a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, March 14th. And the collective, personally and collectively, we could feel it coming for weeks, right? And so there was this feeling of impending doom or impending conflict, right? And every zodiac sign experienced it a little bit differently, right? But basically that full moon lunar eclipse for you guys, Pisces sun or Pisces rising, was happening in your 7th house. Now the 7th house is the people in your life that hold the highest significance. It could be a lover, it could be a bestie, it could be a coworker or a business partner. But these are the people that we have this one-on-one connection with. And the idea is that we have some sort of shared goal, something in common that unites us. Now, what happens if we come to the realization that this connection that we have, not necessarily as healthy as we thought it was? You may have come to the realization that details matter, and some sort of detail about this connection or this situation is now unavoidable. Sometimes it comes through in new information or some sort of situation where you're like, oh, I didn't know that about that person, or oh, we're kind of on different planets here when it comes to what our goals are, what our values are, what our priorities are, right? And even though of all zodiac signs, Pisces sun and Pisces rising are the least confrontational, something or someone may have gotten enough of a bee in your bonnet that you're like, okay, I never take a stand, but this time, right? It has been said that it is an incredible task to piss off a Canadian, and yet here we are, right? So we are definitely experiencing unprecedented times. And if you are experiencing emotions or situations, if you're having thoughts that you've never had before in your life, that's okay. We are all in uncharted territory right now. But anything that would have come up for you over the last 2 weeks, any conflict, any contradictions, any contrast, is leading you to clarity. No matter what happened, no matter how unpleasant, no matter how surprising, the fact of the matter is, here we are with more information. Now we really know what we're dealing with. Now we really know what we're up against. And now we really know where we stand with the people in our lives. This could be personally, it could be professionally, it could be globally. Whatever's happening for you, that eclipse is showing you what needs to heal within the context of your closest, most important relationships in your life. Now, the 7th house is associated with Libra. This is why I keep doing this. I'm imitating the scales, right? Libra is represented by the scales, and the only way that a scale works is that there is a common point, that anchor point that holds the two sides of the scale. In any relationship we have, personal or professional, if it turns out we do not have shared goals, shared values, shared dreams for the future, there is no balance. And we can literally never find balance because there is no central point. So before you feel too emotional, before you feel like too confused about this, sometimes it really helps to simplify things. Do we have a common goal? Do we have a common shared value system or vision for the future? It's either yes or no. Very, very, very simple, right? But within the context of our human relationships, sometimes all the details, all the history, all the emotions can make things feel really complicated. So if you're feeling confused, it's going to be really important for you to narrow down what are my core values in this situation, and is this connection, personal or professional, is it aligning with my values or not? End of story, right? Yeah. The first, yeah. This week is going to be a lot of deep thoughts. It's going to be processing what just happened and trying to make sense of how all of these details affect us, right? And so that is why, with so much information and so much happening out there, and every single one of us is feeling really overwhelmed right now, as much as you can simplify your experience to what are my core values, and how can I align with my core values, right? If you can really simplify, it's going to make everything a lot easier to understand, to categorize, to work through. Right? It really does come down to your values. And March 19th, it may be hard to see where you stand in everything. March 19th is going to be a conjunction between the Sun and Neptune in the very last degree of Pisces. You may feel a sense of urgency when it comes to expressing yourself or defining who you are. And it may be an urge that comes from inside of you, or it may be an urge because you feel as though somebody wants to know. Somebody might be asking you to declare your intentions or take a stand on something, and you may or may not feel ready to. You may not feel able to. So I just want you to know that March 19th is going to be confusing. So incredibly confusing. It's going to be foggy, emotional, overwhelming. I've been telling every zodiac sign this. On or around March 19th, do not make any promises, no commitments, don't sign anything, don't buy anything. It's way too confusing. You're not going to be seeing yourself or the situation clearly. But March 20th, the sun moves into Aries, and Aries is like a laser beam. Focus. March 20th, where we have the spring equinox and Aries season starts, all the way to March 24th. Is going to be crystal clear. If you want that path of action, if you want to find the truth, if you want to get really clear and sort things out in your world, that is the time to do it. We're going to be most clear at that point. But then when we get to March 27th, Venus moves back into Pisces. March 29th, Mercury moves back into Pisces. And so that fog and confusion, that sense of feeling overwhelmed and not being able to see the path moving forwards clearly at all, that's going to return from March 27th to March 29th. So if you can, avoid any major decisions or any purchases between the 27th and the 29th. Don't make any major commitments. Because the other thing happening at that time is you're more likely to backtrack. You're more likely to feel confused and then have somebody else tell you what you should believe or what you should think or what you should see or what you should do. So all bets are off between the 27th and the 29th. But then the 29th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and then that clarity returns like holy smokes, it returns like with a vengeance. The 29th is going to be our last eclipse until we hit September. And so this new moon solar eclipse is also the last one that we're going to have on the Aries axis for 9 or 18 years, depending on how you look at it. So it's kind of like this final straw thing. It's kind of like now or never kind of thing. And so yes, that sense of urgency, it is real. But if we act from a place of panic, if we act from a place of confusion or not being clear about facts or reality, then we can cause more damage than good. And so be careful. Do things slowly and carefully and with great love. If you are looking for it, the truth will become clear. But you're going to have to sift through a lot of confusing stuff. So don't believe everything that you hear and see. Don't take anything at face value. Do your fact check. check the references, check the receipts, all that good stuff. Lots of blurred lines indeed. And then by the time we hit the last couple of days of this month, it's going to be really clear not only where you stand, but how to implement and actualize your values, how to make choices, how to channel your energy in a way that truly aligns with your values. And a little bit of confrontation may be part of it. So you may find that you have to take a stand. You may find that you have to set a boundary, and those things might be well outside of your comfort zone. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and none of us can afford to be lax about those things right now. So believe in yourself, love yourself, protect your peace at all costs. And every now and then we got to channel a badass side of ourselves. It's not always, but now is the time, right? Okay. This is what I've got for you guys. I really, really hope that it helped. Thank you so much for being here. Good luck out there. Mwah! And I will see you in 2 weeks at my next video. Bye.